One of the very few releases from the short-lived studio unicorn, California Crisis Gun Salvo is a one-shot love letter to Hollywood chase films. The story follows Noera, a seemingly aimless and possibly underemployed young man who, after a night of heavy drinking, witnesses a car-borne battle between two rival military groups. He ends up forced off the road along with one of their trucks and a young biker named Marsha, who leaps into his car as he tries to flee the scene. It turns out that the opportunistic Marsha has stolen a bizarre orb from the overturned lorry, and the military powers are quite keen to get it back, forcing our heroes to flee into the desert as they try to work out just what the hell is going on. The minimal story is extremely slight, but it has a pleasing Hitchcock-esque quality that holds your attention. What we have here is basically an extended chase sequence in which ordinary folk in possession of an obvious MacGuffin are pursued by nefarious government types. It's nothing staggeringly original, but it works perfectly well for the short running time. Probably the most interesting thing about this film, though, is the high contrast artwork. Everything is rendered in crisply defined expanses of geometric flat colour, creating this distinctive stripped-back style. Other productions around this time, such as Golgo 13 The Professional, certainly flirted with a similar look, but none seem to push it as far as the artists have done here. There's no big hair or dubious technology, but the look of California Crisis is something that could only ever have come out of the 1980s. While I doubt you'd want to see this look everywhere you went, in this film it really works. The extreme definition of light and shade perfectly convey the intense sunlight, while the bleached pastel tones evoke a real sense of time and place. The vehicles are rendered in loving detail, and the chase scenes, which probably make up the bulk of the film, are nicely executed and pleasingly reminiscent of cult Laserdisc game Road Avenger, which emerged around the same time. The visuals are slightly let down, however, by the quality of the source print. While my hat goes off to box subs for their translation, California Crisis has never been released on DVD, and I think the RAW is taken from an old VHS. Normally I'm not one to be picky about a lack of remastering, especially for something so obscure and hard to come by, but it's a real shame here, as I think that a good restoration could really bring the vivid colour palette back to life. More seriously, the film is also let down by the writer's attempts to end it. While plenty of classic road movies feature a strange ending, the impression here is of the production being brought to a sudden halt, and a longer finale or even a follow-up having to be shelved. There's just no real explanation or closure for the story. Most baffling of all is Noera's friendship with one of the bad guys, which seems to be building to a payoff that never actually arrives. So, why then should you care about such an odd little film beyond its kitschy artwork? Well, as our two heroes venture forth, Marsha repeatedly tells people they encounter that our duo are searching for the American dream. Aside from lending the whole thing a faintly Hunter Thompson-ish vibe, this kind of sums the whole thing up. In many ways, what we're seeing here is that sort of exciting American ideal, a distorted and romanticised vision of the United States that probably only a foreigner could ever see. The knockabout sense of fun this film seems imbued with also left me feeling that this must have been a hugely enjoyable project to work on. Just during the economic boom that saw large amounts of money thrown at even the most unlikely of anime projects, the Golden Age, it's easy to accuse California Crisis of being an excuse for the animators to take an all-expenses-paid research trip to the States, where they presumably spent ages photographing vintage cars, endlessly rewatched the Blues Brothers, and partied very hard indeed. In fact, I think that's exactly what it was, but I don't think the film is any the worse for it. The plot may be a little unsatisfying, but it's easily forgiven if you look upon the film as being one part animated travelogue to 2 parts car chase. So in short, California Crisis is not going to change your life, but as a neat little postcard from the anime golden age, it's well worth checking out.